Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about having a Sagittarius Sun and a Scorpio Ascendant in the natal chart. Now, being that these are adjacent signs, I see this as neutral as far as this combination goes and the compatibility with each other. And Sagittarius, of course, is a masculine sign. It's extroverted, while Scorpio rising, okay, is introverted. These are very strongly different signs. They have some similarities as far as the courage and fortitude and sometimes the abruptness or the bluntness, which I think is still more prominent a little bit in Sagittarius. Though Scorpio rising, this bluntness can come out in a rather caustic or sardonic or sarcastic nature, because it's those harsh arrows of Sagittarius truth coming out with that Scorpio rising stinger. And watch out, whoever's on the receiving end of the statements from these people. I think say that they're not going to be happy recipients, obviously. Well, the thing is, they're both, as I stated before, Scorpio's introverted. They're feminine. It's a feminine sign. Sagittarius is masculine, extroverted. Sagittarius can be jovial and jocular and very ebullient and effervescent, but the Scorpio rising may tone this down a little bit, and it can be a little bit more somber in the demeanor, a little bit more reticent and more taciturn. This will tone down the Sagittarius Sun restlessness, and I think could give more focus on, I guess you could say, things that are connected maybe with some philosophical or religious goals. And when they're expanding their horizons, they're able to maybe give it a little bit more persistence and stick-to-itiveness, having Scorpio rising. Now, in the natal chart, our sun can represent our basic wants, while the rising sign or ascendant can represent the manner or method in which one attains these basic wants. So with Sagittarius Sun, the basic wants can be connected with philosophy, religion, seeking the truth, being that perpetual learner, things connected with expanding the horizons, perhaps long distance traveling. And as far as high school, I should say post high school education, such as college studies, so and also exploration. And when you have Scorpio rising, these Sagittarius basic wants may be done with a lot of emotional intensity and a lot of Scorpio rising tenacity and persistence, and may show a lot of resourcefulness in doing so. And this person is apt to stick to a lot of these things as far as, for example, expanding horizons. And the thing is, what I think is interesting is Sagittarius can also be connected, I think, with the outdoors strongly. And this person, I could see that this person using that Sagittarius, perhaps being enamored with the outdoors, and maybe doing something like some kind of recycling and picking up things as far as they're recyclables, because that's like transformation, which is connected with the Scorpio rising sign. So, and it could also be that maybe this person, as far as the truth goes, for example, and seeking the truth for the Sun and Sagittarius, that could be done in that Scorpio rising or ascendant manner by perhaps seeing through duplicity of others with their penetrating insight, by seeing subterfuges, and perhaps through some kind of maybe through subtle means, maybe they somehow are able to seek out the truth in situations, and may do so perhaps through like some kind of detective or law enforcement type thing, or forensics, and seeking the truth out in certain situations in that manner, as far as apprehending the bad guy, so to speak, the criminal. And really, this could also be done, some of these things with Sagittarius, with their as far as that truth seeking, that could come out, I mean, as the ways I described in being, and maybe by, if they're inquiring, it might come out with a lot of that Scorpio. You might have a little bit of that Scorpio sarcasm mixed in as well. And the thing is, this could be something where, as far as higher education goes and post high school activity, which could be strongly associated with Sagittarius basic wants, perhaps more so than the other sun signs. It could be done through a Scorpio rising-like thing. It could be done through being psychologist or psychiatry, perhaps through astrology or supernatural occult type sciences, perhaps through being like a locksmith, for example, a mechanical career. A Scorpio rising could have very strong mechanical ability. It could be something like auto mechanics or refrigeration type mechanics. And the thing about it is, this is a combination that may sometimes need to curtail their bluntness, so to speak, because Sagittarius Sun can be rather blunt and forthright, and Scorpio rising, though not as much on average, can still have some abruptness and like to get to the heart of the matter in certain situations. So you have that strong energy. Though Scorpio rising will make the Sagittarius Sun in this case a little bit more skeptical, and it might be more prudent in terms of letting out those harsh arrows of Sagittarius truth, but they can come out with, as I stated before, that Scorpio-like stinger, so to speak, figuratively speaking anyway. I mean in a very caustic or sardonic manner. Now, anyway, it's important to look at the aspect, if any, that is made between the Sagittarius Sun and the Scorpio Sun. This could indicate whether these energies may integrate, or maybe well, or maybe not as well, or if they don't make an aspect, there might be more isolation. You might not have that integration that much with them. But anyway, let's say you have a conjunction. Let's say, for example, let's say the person has the Sagittarius Sun at 1 degree and the Scorpio Ascendant at 29 degrees. That would be a conjunction aspect. And this could be very intensifying and a strong amalgamation of these energies from these two, from the Scorpio Sun and the Sagittarius Sun. Now, let's say you can have an out-of-sign sextile aspect take place. Let's say, for example, the Sagittarius Sun is at 29 degrees and the Scorpio Ascendant is at 1 degree. That would form an out-of-sign sextile aspect. And with that, this is auspicious and positive, and you might have a little better blending and integration of these energies than otherwise indicated. You could also have a semi-sextile aspect, which is a minor aspect, but it's positive, but it's not as intense as the sextile. For example, let's say the Sagittarius Sun is at 17 degrees and the Scorpio Ascendant is at 17 degrees. I call that slightly positive because it's really like a modified kind of version of the sextile aspect, and it's not as strong, but nonetheless it still could be positive. Now you could also have a semi-square aspect, which is adverse. This is a minor aspect. Let's say the Sagittarius Sun is at 20 degrees and the Scorpio Ascendant is at 5 degrees. That would form a semi-square aspect, which I consider slightly adverse. And you might get these slight feelings even if the person is not cognizant of their astrological placements, maybe feeling misconstrued or misunderstood to some degree due to the fact that what they're projecting outwardly may be strongly different than what is going on inside, which could lead to some little exasperation and tension perhaps. Well, anyway, also it's important to look at the house placement of the Sun in Sagittarius, because even if the Scorpio Sun may suppress the Sagittarius Sun energy to some degree, the Sagittarius Sun energy may still come out at least somewhat prominently in that particular house that it is posited in. So if the Sun in Sagittarius is in the first house, this might come out a little bit stronger, more on the first impression than other people, most other people that have the same, that have a different ascendant and sun sign, because it would fall in that first house. And being an angular house, these qualities might be more accentuated, more on a first impression than ordinarily. And if Sagittarius Sun falls in the second house, this person might show a lot of that expansiveness and that exuberance in matters connected with generating income and things of a monetary nature, and things connected with their values. And their philosophy and values might be strongly tied in with each other. Now, if the Sagittarius Sun should happen to fall in the third house, well, that is a cadent house, and that energy may be dissipated to some degree, and it may not come out as strongly, but it may come out in communication and with brothers and sisters if applicable. That exuberant, expansive, and that enthusiastic energy may come out in that. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for having a Sagittarius Sun and a Scorpio Ascendant in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about having a Sagittarius Sun and a Sagittarius Ascendant in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.